Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mcubed Show. For this episode, of course I'm Schmook, but this is going to be in our money categories. I'm going to be here talking to you all about NFL picks, alright? So I'm going to try to win y'all some money in betting. I had a pretty successful week actually last week with baseball, right? I'm going to maybe do a video for y'all on baseball once, because we're getting towards the end of the season, so I'm going to make my picks for playoffs once we have a full seeding and everything, because we're getting down to the wire with baseball. This video is going to be specifically about football for week 4 of the NFL season. This video is going to come out after the Thursday night game, which is going to be between the Bengals and the Jaguars, okay? Which is an interesting game, for sure. The Bengals have looked pretty solid this year, and they have a pretty solid defense, which I'm shocked about. But of course, we have Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence, which is the rematch we've been wanting to see since the LSU Clemson championship where Joe Burrow kicked Trevor Lawrence's ass, right? But these are 2 first overall picks going up against each other. So who is the franchise quarterback for the future, right? That's what this game's going to entail. However, Trevor Lawrence could end up having a better career than Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow's in the better situation right now, okay? The Jaguars' defense has not been good so far this year, right? And Joe Burrow has some killer weapons, like Tyler Boyd's probably one of the best slot receivers in the league. T. Higgins, I believe, is still out. I could be wrong. But Jamar Chase is looking like a true number 1 wide receiver. And people were kind of doubting the Bengals for picking him. But dude, that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase connection is already insane. So I don't blame them at all. But I think Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and Joe Mixon are going to have a killer game tonight. Of course, I think Trevor Lawrence will get some points on the board. I don't think it's going to be a slaughter. But my pick is going to be for the Bengals. And of course, this will come out after the game. So maybe I'll be wrong. And this could be a freezing cold take. But I think the Bengals should come out with the win here. All right, the next game on the docket is going to be the Titans versus the Jets, okay? So I think that's going to be a slaughter, even with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones most likely being out of the game. I think Derrick Henry is going to destroy that defense. And Tannehill was still throwing that rock around, man, even to players. I don't even know their names, you know? So, like, Tannehill's a pretty serviceable quarterback, but Derrick Henry is going to destroy this Jets defense. And the Jets, even though the Titans don't have a great defense, man, Zach Wilson is not looking good at all, right? And, like, Zach Wilson, like, I think he could be a good quarterback down the road, but the Jets are just not the right organization right now. They can't do anything right. So this possibly might be my lock of the week, the Titans over the Jets. This could be a huge upset, though, all right? Who knows? Maybe the Jets finally put something together and Zach Wilson looks like the quarterback the Jets were wanting him to be. And again, like, the Jets have some weapons, you know, but, like, the injuries are bad right now. Like, they lost Carl Lawson in the offseason or preseason, and then Mekhi Becton, like a star left tackle, got hurt. So the Titans, even though they don't have the best defense, they should be able to get after Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson's probably going to throw a pick or two. So, and that'll give the Titans the edge just to destroy the Jets. So my pick in all is going to be the Titans. So our next matchup is going to be the Lions versus the Bears, okay? Now, y'all might think I'm crazy for this, but if Justin Fields is starting, which I think he will be, I don't know if Andy Dalton's ready to come back yet. I really don't. I think the Lions win this game. Because the Lions, here's my thing. They've played some pretty good teams, and they've looked competitive in all the games. Again, yeah, they lost to the Packers, they lost to the 49ers, but they were gonna beat the Ravens, right? They totally were, but then Justin Tucker, like, he kicks a 66-yarder, which is a football record, NFL record, right? Like, Justin Tucker's leg needs to be in the Football Hall of Fame, which is crazy. Like, the Lions, they outplayed the Ravens that whole game, and they should have won. It was just they were just unlucky with that field goal. But again, I think they've been a solid team. Like, they haven't looked bad. Like, they have not looked like the worst team in the league that a lot of people were saying they were going to be. Like, before the season, everyone was saying they were going to be worse than the Jags and the Jets. That's not the case. And a lot of people on power rankings are probably going to say they're still only they're probably only third, or they're probably ranked 29th in the league or 30th in the league to a lot of people. But I seriously think they can beat the Bears because Justin, like, that offense looks terrible. And Khalil Mack got hurt last week. I don't know if he's going to be playing for that Bears defense. And that Bears defense hasn't been that good, like, at all. Again, like, the Bears aren't the same team they were a few years ago, right? And, like, Justin Fields, I believe, is going to be a pretty stellar quarterback in the league. but he's not there yet. And the Lions, I don't think they're that bad. Like, their defense isn't great, but they can make some plays, and that offense somehow gets down the field and can score. So again, this could be considered an upset. I'm pretty sure the Lions are the underdogs in this matchup, and I'm just like, bet on the Lions, in my opinion. So that's my pick for that game. All right, now this next matchup is kind of a tricky one, in my opinion. Okay, it's the Dolphins versus the Colts. Now the Colts, to me, have not looked good at all. Even that defense isn't looking that good. And everyone coming into the league's like, dude, the Colts, they could easily win this division, even over the Titans. Because, I mean, again, you only have the Titans, the Jags, and the Texans to worry about in that division. And the Titans, I believed were going to have a step back, but they still look like a solid team. But even though the Titans just aren't going to have A.J. Brown or Julio, which sucks. But, again, going into this game, Tua went out. But Jacoby Brissett came in and honestly was kind of getting the ball down the field more so than Tua. Like last week, they went to overtime with the Raiders, and honestly, they could have won that game. The Dolphins have a very young, very good defense, okay? And Carson Wentz honestly just isn't good. But to be fair to Carson Wentz, he gets hurt a lot, which is a problem, right? But he's not necessarily a terrible quarterback. And that O-line for the Colts, which is supposed to be the thing about that Colts team, they haven't been very good. Like, Quentin Nelson has been very good. Like, a lot of that O-line. It's just like Carson Wentz constantly under pressure, right? So I could see the Dolphins winning this game. And I hope they're the underdogs, because that's who I'm going to put my bet on, are the Miami Dolphins, right? But don't be shocked if the Colts win this game. Like, this one's tough to me, all right? Like, this is the game where the Colts could bring it all together. But honestly, I personally really see the Dolphins winning this game. All right, next up on the list are the Vikings versus the Browns, okay? This is going to be a tough one, okay? Because this is a little biased for me. I am a Minnesota Vikings fan, all right? Like, I love the players on that team. Like, Justin Jefferson he's my boy. Love Adam Thielen. He's killing it. Like, he gets a touchdown every game. He can't be stopped. And then, of course, if Dalvin Cook plays, ooh. Like, to me, he's the best running back in the league. Like, pure running back. Unfortunately, he has health concerns, always. And that's a problem. But, like, when he's on the field healthy, dude kills it. All right? But the Browns, now, the Browns have a killer pass rush, okay? And that's usually been the problems for this Vikings team, is that O-line. But the O-line's been kind of good these first 3 weeks. Like, first week, they weren't good at all. That's the only reason the Vikings lost to the Bengals, is because they had a ton of penalties on that O-line. So many false starts. And then, of course, like, the end of that game was an overtime missed field goal by Greg Joseph. And that's why the Bengals won one of their games this year. But then week 2, the Vikings offense was pretty stellar. The defense just kind of blew it. Then in week 2, the Vikings played the Arizona Cardinals, right? Oh, and excuse me. I messed up. I know I'm a Vikings fan, of course. But the Bengals actually won in overtime due to a fumble by Dalvin Cook, right? And Greg Joseph, honestly, was a stud in week 1. Like, he's the only reason we got the overtime by kicking a 57-yarder. So that's on me, might be. But the Cardinals, they beat the Vikings in week 2, but dude, the Vikings defense was kind of holding the Cardinals in check. Dude, Kirk is slinging it down the field. Dalvin went off, but of course we missed a 37-yarder, which completely ruined that game, and we lost, even though we should have beat the Cardinals. So the Vikings easily could have been 2-0, but then they go last week, week 3, and destroy the Seahawks. Destroy them. And like the Vikings are a top 3 offense this year already. It's just kind of based on that defense at this point. I think the Vikings, honestly, if that O-line can at least keep Myles Garrett somewhat in check and Kirk isn't under too much pressure, their offense should be able to should be able to beat out the Browns offense with Odell honestly being hurt always. He played finally in week 3 and he looked okay, but apparently he was limited in practice already this week, and Jarvis Landry's out. So, and Baker I don't think's it, but the Vikings pass rush has to get after Baker, even though that Browns O-line is stellar. And of course you have the two-headed dragon of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So that's going to be a hard one, all right? Like, hopefully, I think the Vikings win this. And of course that's bias of me. But of course, I don't think the Browns have necessarily looked stellar this year. All right, yeah, sure, they almost beat the Chiefs, but I don't think the Chiefs looked that stellar either. And they beat the Bears last week, but that's because they absolutely destroyed Justin Fields, and they couldn't even get like 1 yard positive of passing yards. The Browns, they're a solid team. Okay, I'm not poo-pooing on them. But I really think the Vikings can beat this, and I'm pretty sure they're at home. So, and the Vikings have a killer home crowd, and I think that'll be the edge for the Vikings to win this game. And I'm sure they're the underdogs too. So again, that's another underdog that I think can win you some money. All right, so next up, now this game I think is tough. Okay, we have the Washington football team versus the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, the Falcons have not looked good. Okay, but they got a good head coach, in my opinion, Arthur Smith, who is the one who brought back Ryan Tannehill's career in Tennessee, because he was the offensive coordinator there with the Titans, and that offense has looked sick ever since then. All right, I just think everything has to click together for this Falcons team. Like, of course, you have Calvin Ridley, you have your first round pick and Kyle Pitts, who's gonna break out. And I think he breaks out in this game, honestly, because honestly, the football team's defense. Like, everyone's like, dude, this is the best defense in the league, but they have not looked like it. They have not looked like the best defense. Like, they're gonna be good. They should be able to get Matt Ryan to turn the ball over, and possibly should get some pressure on Matt Ryan. But is Taylor Heineke the guy who can score more points in this Falcons offense? Like, of course, I think Terry McLaurin's a boss. I think he's gonna end up being one of the best wide receivers in the league one day, especially once he gets like a franchise quarterback to throw it to him, kind of like Allen Robinson. I think Terry McLaurin is the new Allen Robinson. We're always putting up production even with an okay quarterback, right? And then of course Antonio Gibson he's a beast. He was a wide receiver in college, and he comes into the NFL as a running back, has a stellar rookie year, gets hurt unfortunately, but he comes back. And he's looked good so far this season. Like last week, he had like a 56-yard receiving touchdown, which was dope. Even though it was a check down, of course. But like, he went down that field, he was breaking some tackles, making guys miss, and Antonio Gibson's good. Now the Falcons, again, like they have Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson at running back, and like I think their offense is slightly better, given that you have Matt Ryan, who's like a former MVP quarterback. He hasn't looked great. Of course, like he's getting old, but I think the Falcons win this game. I really do. Again, I think it's another underdog who can win it. And of course, I could be wrong. Of course I could be wrong. Like, again, I'm just making picks. Like, most of these games are 50-50 in my eyes. Like, it's hard. Like again, we're only 4 weeks in now. And it's hard to tell until like week 8, I would say, who are the teams to bet on. But at this point, you might as well take risks. Like, I mean, the Falcons aren't that bad of a football team. And if they're the underdogs, I say might as well put a bet on them. Like, I'm sure if you put $10 on them, I think you'll make like 20-something bucks. I don't know the exact money line, but again, like I'm pretty sure they're gonna kick some ass. And I could be wrong, but I think it's at home too, so that could add to it. But all right, guys, let's go on to the next one. All right, now I think this one's pretty simple. I don't think I have to spend too much time on it. So we got the Bills versus the Texans. All right, now Josh Allen's been a monster. Like, he's spreading that ball all over the field. Like, even Stephon Diggs is even just being the number one guy every game. Like he's kicking ass, but Josh Allen doesn't have to throw it to him. Like, he's able to get guys open and throw it to him. And they have a pretty solid defense. Their run game's kind of but I mean, Zach Moss I think looks good. Devin Singletary's okay. Like, it's a solid backfield. It's not great, but of course, the Texans, Brandon Cooks is a monster. I think he's the most underrated wide receiver in the league. Like, he's another guy with any quarterback he can go out there and like kick ass. Like last week, like against the Panthers, which was an easy money line. All right, like it was easy to pick the Panthers for that game because it was Davis Mills' first ever starting game in the NFL as a rookie, right? But still, Brandon Cooks was able to get over 100 yards receiving. So I think the Texans will be able to put some points on the board, but the Bills, I think this is easy lock for me. The Bills are an easy win for this week. All right, next up, we have the Saints versus the Giants. Dude, the Giants, I don't know what to think about them, all right? Like, they did so much in the offseason. Saquon's finally healthy. Daniel Jones has actually looked pretty good this year, but they're 0-3. Their defense, I think it has a lot to do with their defense because they are able to score points, all right? But last week was kind of rough against the Falcons. I will say that. But I will say I think the Saints have this one. I think they have the better coach. They have a good defense. And then Jameis looks pretty solid so far this year. He's not looking elite outside of week 1 where him and the Saints just destroyed the Packers. But, like, again, I could see the Giants somehow winning this game. So if you want to put a bet on them, I wouldn't blame you. But my pick is for the Saints. All right, next up, we have the Chiefs versus the Eagles. I think the Chiefs win this easy, but who knows? Like, yeah, the Eagles got wrecked by the Cowboys, and it's a short week now since they had a game Monday night. And like that sucks when you're going up against the Chiefs. And Andy Reid's a guy who can plan he can have a good game plan. All right, where the Eagles, like, they have a new head coach, which I've been liking so far. But Jalen Hurts, I don't know if he's it for the Eagles. Like, he can look good, he has a good attitude, he has a lot of leadership abilities, and he's fired up. If he goes out there and beat the Chiefs, I'm gonna say good for you, bro. Good for you. You came prepared to take on the Chiefs. But again, the Chiefs, they have a solid defense. They have Tyreek Hill, they have Travis Kelce, and of course they have Pat freaking Mahomes. So I will say the Chiefs should win this easily, but dude, the Eagles, they could, but I doubt it. I do doubt it. All right, next one up, we have the Cowboys versus the Panthers. A week ago, I would have said the Panthers win this game. All right, but the Cowboys are looking like they're coming together. The run game is strong with Zeke and Tony Pollard, and Dak's looking insane after coming back off a terrible knee injury. He's looking really good so far. And that defense, it's not an elite defense, but Trayvon Diggs is looking nice. And then Micah Parsons is killing it, all right? So, and of course, the Panthers, I would pick, but they lost J.C. Horn, the injury, and Christian McCaffrey. I'd say if both those guys were in this game, it would be a much closer match. Because Sam Darnold's, he's looked good. DJ Moore is looking insane. I think Robbie Anderson could actually have a pretty big game. If you're into fantasy football, I know he's been killing you. I know he has, but with Christian McCaffrey out, I think Robbie Anderson's going to fill those targets. So watch out for that. And again, it could be a flip of a coin game, but with those injuries on the Panthers, I think Cowboys win this. Now this next game, I think, is a tough pick, okay? I think it's tough. You have the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know what to think about either of these teams. Like, the Seahawks can come out and just whoop on teams, or they just mess up. Like with the Titans game, they messed themselves up. They let Derrick Henry run all over them. The Vikings, they whooped them fair and square. Okay, but week 1 they went off against the Colts. But yeah, even though the Colts aren't looking that good, so in the 49ers, like they've beaten the Lions. They barely lost to the Packers, and I can't remember who they played week 2. But they won that game, I'm pretty sure. Jimmy G, I just don't think is it, but he is able to air out the ball like Deebo Samuel, and I think Brandon Ayuk could have a pretty good game because Seattle's secondary is just not that good, but their running back situation's kind of iffy. Like they lost Raheem Mostert, who I think when healthy is a solid running back, but he keeps getting hurt. So this is a tough one. Like it's hard for me to go up against Russ, because I think Russ is a top quarterback in the league, and he has 2 elite wide receiver options and a good running back in Chris Carson. But DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are 2 elite wide receivers who are huge deep threats, and Russell Wilson has that arm to get them downfield. But Tyler Lockett has looked a little banged up, so that's a problem. So it could be based on how he's feeling. So I would possibly pick Seattle, but you know what? Let's just go with the 49ers. They have a good defense. Like their front 7 is solid. And I mean, again, like Jimmy G's able to get the ball down the field and score. And then Trey Lance, they bring it on some packages and can kick ass. So it's tough. Like this is the one that's completely 50-50. This is the one where I'd be like, just you decide, honestly, because it's hard for me. Because again, I think it just depends. Next up, we have the Rams and the Cardinals. All right, this should be a good game, but I think the Cardinals are kind of they might be a slightly overrated 3-0 team. Like they're good. They're a good team. Kyler Murray is killing it out there. Okay, but the Rams, they look good. They look real good. I think this is a game where Robert Woods has a big game. Of course, Cooper Kupp's been a monster. And Stafford has really came into LA and has kicked some ass. And that defense is solid. Of course, you have 2 of the best players in the league at their positions with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. So they should be able to get after Kyler. And I think Jalen should be able to lock up D-Hop. So it should be a close game. But my pick is for the Rams. But the Cardinals, they could prove me wrong. Again, they are a good team. Kyler Murray is already, I think he's a front runner for MVP. But I think the Rams are too good to lose this game. And they just beat the Super Bowl champs. So my pick's to the Rams. All right, now this next one's easy for me, okay? It's the Packers versus the Steelers. Like, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy, but he is a bad man, okay? I think the Packers should easily win this game. Like, the Steelers' defense is messed up, man. It's hurt. Like, TJ Watt, he had a killer first game and gets injured. Like, he might be on the field, but he's probably not 100%. Big Ben just looks terrible. And Juju and Deontay Johnson got banged up bad last game. Najee Harris, I think, is a beast. Like, he should be able to kick some ass in this game because the Packers, I don't think, have a very good run D. But again, Big Ben just can't throw it down the field anymore. Like with that wide receiver core, man. I think the Steelers, if their defense is healthy and they change quarterbacks, like they get a solid quarterback. Like, imagine they trade for Deshaun Watson. That's a Super Bowl team, easy. Because Juju, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool are elite wide receivers. They're all wide receiver ones, and like that's the best wide receiver core in my opinion in the league. You can make arguments for the Cowboys, and me with bias, like I think Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson are the best 1-2 in the league, like tied with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But again, like just like the Seahawks and the Vikings, they don't really have a clear third wide receiver, even though Minnesota has a solid wide receiver 3 now with KJ Osborne, who's been honestly stellar in my opinion. But I still would put the Steelers over all those teams with a wide receiver core. They even have James Washington like as the 4th wide receiver, who could easily be a wide receiver 2 on any team. I'm not saying he's a wide receiver 1, but he doesn't get the play, but he's good. But again, this game just comes down to Big Ben. If Big Ben comes out and kicks some ass, sure, the Steelers can win this game. They can. But the Packers, they're going to have a huge momentum boost after being the 49ers last week. And Aaron Rodgers I think he's playing angry. And Devontae Adams is a monster. Aaron Jones is a monster. And that defense is solid. Like, Jair Alexander is a top 3 cornerback in the league. So they should beat up on the Steelers. I think that's a lock as well. All right, next game I think is a really good matchup. We have the Denver Broncos versus the Baltimore Ravens, okay? Now, the Ravens, I just don't think look that good. I think they get a little bit lucky with their wins. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs game was stellar, though. All right, the Chiefs game, I'll give them that win, okay? But last week, I think they should have lost to the Lions, and then they got whooped up by the Raiders week 1. So, like, the Ravens are hard to pick, in my opinion, because that defense isn't looking great. Marcus Peters being out is rough for that team. And then, of course, that backfield is destroyed. Like, that whole preseason was terrible for them. Like, within 2 weeks, they lost their top 3 running backs, which sucks. Of course, Lamar's great. Lamar's a top 5 rusher in the league, and he's a quarterback. All right, of course he's good. But the Broncos, they have a killer defense, in my opinion. Like, absolutely stellar. And Teddy Bridgewater is looking good. Cortland Sutton's a good wide receiver. It sucks that Jerry Jeudy's gone. That's the only thing that's keeping me from being like, oh, no matter what, Broncos win this game. And then KJ Hamler got hurt, which is another wide receiver on that team. So, like, it's going to be a big, like, run game for the Broncos, because Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, like, they both look solid so far this year. But Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton should have big games. But I think this is going to end up coming to defense and who can stop who. And I think the Broncos can they can stop Lamar. So my pick's going to be for the Broncos. I think it's going to be close. This should be a good game. This should be a game to watch. So who knows? This could be a game that makes me decide, are the Broncos legit or are the Ravens actually good? But they've been a little lucky so far. So we'll see. All right, next up we have the game of the week, guys. Okay, Brady going back. Brady is coming back to New England. The Bucs versus the Patriots, all right? Now, it's going to be a solid game, but I think the Bucs whoop up on the Patriots. All right, I mean, Belichick could have a good game plan against Brady, and will have a good idea how to take on his weaknesses, because of course Belichick knows how to take on Brady. But the Bucs are too good to lose to this Patriots team. The defense is good. I'm not going to say the Patriots defense is bad, but Mac Jones against this Bucs rush defense, and like the Bucs just signed Richard Sherman. Mac Jones is probably in for a couple interceptions, and honestly, he doesn't have that good of weapons. So I think this is the easy one for me personally. I think Brady and the Brady Bucs takes on the Patriots and wins. But that's me. Maybe someone else. Maybe you guys have different opinions, but I think it's easy. Like the Super Bowl champs, come on. All right, now Monday Night Football this week, it looks pretty good. Okay, the Chargers versus the Raiders. Now this division's getting interesting because the Chiefs are last in that division right now. They're 1-2, where the Chargers are 2-1. The Raiders and the Broncos are 3-0. It's kind of crazy. You're telling me after 3 weeks, I would not expect the Chiefs to be in last place. But the Raiders have actually looked like a solid football team. Derek Carr is playing at an elite level, but Justin Herbert is the future of the NFL. Like, he is a killer quarterback. Like, he has ice in his veins. He goes to Arrowhead and kicks the Chiefs' ass. He throws for like 4 touchdowns, like, which is crazy. I think it's crazy. The dude went off. And the Raiders, their pass rush has been pretty good. So the Chargers O-line honestly just has to be able to stop like Max Crosby, who's been a stellar defensive end. So I think it's ultimately, and the Chargers have a solid defense. Like Derwin James got banged up last week, but he's still playing. I don't love their rush attack or necessarily their corners. I like Asante Samuel Jr. Chris Harris Jr. is also, he's good, but he's getting older. So I don't know. Again, I think it comes down to defense and quarterback play. Like Derek Carr's been playing like an MVP, and Herbert's been stellar. So it's hard. I don't know who to pick. I don't know who to pick for this one. This one's a flip of a coin for sure. This is the most 50-50 game I've seen this week. I will say, just pick the underdog. I think the Chargers are the underdog. I could be wrong. If they are, just put them down, because screw it. You might as well win some more money on a game that's 50-50 than picking on whoever's favored in this matchup, because who knows? You know, like, again, it's week 4. Like, the league is still young so far this season, and we don't know who exactly is going to be kicking ass yet. And this could be a game to determine, honestly, the end result of their division. I think whoever wins this game, I think, beats out the Chiefs and wins the division. I think it's a must-win game for the Chargers, though, because if they lose and the Raiders end up being 4-0 to start the season, that's crazy. But again, we had the freaking Steelers last year start off the league, I believe, 10-0 or 11-0, which is crazy. But then they went on a crazy bad losing streak, which was ugly, and that showed the full-on regression of Big Ben, and it sucks to see, because Big Ben's been a staple in this league for a long time. But I think no matter what, this is his last year. I think the Steelers have to make a move for a quarterback by the deadline if they want to be competitive, because in the draft doesn't look like it's going to have any good rookie quarterbacks. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, all right, guys, that's it for my picks for the week. I hope I can win y'all some money. Next week, I think I'm going to try to incorporate like the spread and the under-over. It's just hard. It's hard to tell so far. I think next week for sure, though, because after this weekend, I think I'll have a really good idea what teams are looking good or not. Like, so far, I have a pretty good idea, but there's some teams I think are just playing their asses off, and they possibly shouldn't be kicking this much ass so far, but who knows? Like the Broncos, for example. Like, if they can beat the Ravens, I think they're officially a pretty good team. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this for me talking some football with y'all. And look out for my future baseball videos for baseball playoffs. I'm going to tell you who's going to win the wild card games and who's going to win the NLDS and the ALDS, all right? So look out for that, and look forward to seeing y'all very soon. Bye-bye.